Everybody, how's it going? So, this is a response to these two comments. Alright, so the first issue brought up is the issue of media and how media loves to mislabel groups of people. And this individual uses great examples. For instance, if you are pro-gun, you must be a gun nut. If you are pro-assault weapon, you must be a crazy gun nut, right-wing gun nut, if you will. And then the term teabagger is often used by Democrats and liberals alike to try to defame and discredit members and supporters of the Tea Party. And let me address both of these issues really quick and where I fall on this. I personally do not hunt. I don't hunt animals for sport, for recreation, or for food consumption. However, that does not mean that I'm against the right to bear arms. It is quite to the contrary. Where I grew up, I learned how to shoot a gun before, the age in which most people learn how to drive a car. So I am very pro-Second Amendment. I support the right to bear arms. I support the right of the people to go out and purchase guns as a means of protection. Because the people cannot rely upon the state or the government or the police to protect them all the time. Then again, that is just my personal opinion. I myself am pro-gun. I am in favor of the right to bear arms. And I believe that if the government in any way, or the state in any way, tries to restrict that right, that they are infringing upon our freedoms and liberties. But that's just my personal opinion. Okay? Okay. Now the term teabagger. For those of you who don't know what the act of teabagging is, it is a sexual act in which a male will dip his genitals into the mouth of his partner, be it female or male. So, when I hear liberals, Democrats, or anyone for that matter, use the term teabagger to describe a person involved with the Tea Party movement, I often have to shake my head. And I call them out on their ignorance. Because calling a member of the Tea Party a teabagger is somewhat idiotic, considering that the Tea Party movement is not a sexual movement. It is a political movement. I have personally been to Tea Party events just to observe and see what they're about. And at those events, I never once witnessed the acts of individuals engaging in teabagging. I never once saw a male engaging in the sexual act of teabagging at those events. Therefore, when I hear people call those in the Tea Party movement teabaggers, I often call them out on their ignorance. Because calling a member of the Tea Party a teabagger is exactly that. It's ignorance. It's idiotic, petty, and childish, in my opinion. Moving on. He goes on then to state, you and I may disagree. However, you're the first person I've chatted with in a long time who did not do that, meaning the fact that I don't engage in insults, ad hominem attacks, and slurs, and that childlike pettiness that is often so common these days, especially on YouTube. It seems more and more common. Kudos to you for being able to discuss this with me as an adult. I would also like to thank you as well, sir, for engaging in a manner that has been pleasant, constructive, and very much enjoyable. And feel free to ask me as many questions as you want. I will be happy to respond to all of your inquiries because you have shown me nothing but kindness and respect. And I've actually enjoyed the conversations that we have had and actually are having. And to me, it's just sad that we have to thank each other for actually being adults when we are ourselves adults. And you are right. This is becoming more and more rare these days because more and more people are resorting to, instead of trying to have a dialogue or an exchange of ideas or an exchange of varying viewpoints, it is far more easier, it seems enough, to just yell, scream, and insult an individual who disagrees with you and then walk away and then claim some type of intellectual superiority. It is far more easier to do that than it is to sit down with an individual and have a rational and mature discussion about a topic or about a subject. Moving on. Okay, so he then goes on to ask a simple question. If you believe ends justify the means, where do you draw the line? Question mark. I'm not trying to insult you or anything like that. I in no way, shape, or form find that question to be insulting. Questions and asking questions is one way in which we learn from one another. So feel free to ask me as many questions as you want, and I will be glad to respond to them to the best of my ability. Moving on. You said you support the actions of the SS, SS referring to the Sea Shepherds, and ALF, ALF referring to the Animal Liberation Front. I also support the Earth Liberation Front, Earth First, and other organizations, groups, if you will, that are more militant and more direct. Do you stop at damaging property? I'm trying to understand where you would draw the line is all. To answer your question, I want to read you two things. First, I'm going to read the ALF Credo, followed by the ALF Guidelines, both of which are two things that I personally try to adhere to. The ALF Credo is as follows. The Animal Liberation Front, or ALF for short, carries out direct action against animal abuse in the form of rescuing animals and causing financial loss to animal exploitators, usually through the damage and destruction of property. Now, the ALF's short-term aim is to save as many animals as possible and directly disrupt the practice of animal abuse. Their long-term aim is to end all suffering by forcing animal abuse companies out of business. It is a non-violent campaign. Activists take all precautions not to harm any animal, human or otherwise. Now, because ALF actions may be against the law, activists work anonymously, either in small groups or individually, and do not have any centralized organization or coordination. The Animal Liberation Front consists of small groups of people all over the world who carry out direct action according to the ALF guidelines. Any group of people who are vegetarians or vegan and who carry out actions according to the ALF guidelines have the right to regard themselves as part of the Animal Liberation Front, or ALF. Now, the ALF guidelines are as follows. Number 1, to liberate animals from places of abuse, i.e. laboratories, factory farms, fur farms, etc., and place them in good homes where they may live out their natural lives, free from suffering. Number 2, to inflict economic damage to those who profit from the misery and exploitation of animals. Now, to inflict economic damage is open to what one feels comfortable doing. Economic damage could range from the simple act of writing graffiti on a wall, leaving a message, to the act of gluing locks shut, to the acts of slashing tires of transport vehicles, to the act of paintball bombing, to the act of breaking windows, to arson. And it would depend upon what the individual or group feels is necessary at the time, meaning that a group may not automatically go and burn down a building. They may start with leaving a message on that building. and then they may come back and glue the lock shut, and then they may come back and break their windows, and then they may return to leave a final message of a warning saying that if you do not close, the next time we return, we will leave an incendiary device and we will burn down your building. But then again, actions vary depending upon the person or group engaging in that action. Not every group engages in the same action. Some groups or individuals may escalate actions over time. Others may take a more aggressive action right off the bat. It just depends upon the group or that individual and what they decide is best and what they are comfortable doing. Moving on. Number 3, to reveal the horror and atrocities committed against animals behind locked doors by performing non-violent direct actions and liberations. Moving on. To take all necessary precautions against harming any animal, human and non-human. So, hopefully that answered some of your questions. Again, feel free to, send me a PM asking me more questions if you have more questions. If this video has raised any other questions you have, like I've said, feel free to send me a PM, feel free to leave a comment down below, and I will be glad to respond to your inquiries, to your questions, to the best of my ability in a future response. And again, I would like to thank you for your kindness, your maturity, during this exchange, during this conversation in which we are having. And I would also like to thank you for your questions. I'm always happy to answer questions from people. However, I often don't receive questions from people. I simply receive insults, and I don't waste my time responding to insults because, in my opinion, it is a complete utter waste of time. Anyway, again, thank you, and hopefully this video answered your questions, or if, like I said, if it raised more questions, feel free to PM me, leave a comment down below, and I will be glad to respond to those questions, to your inquiries in a future response. Take care, and have a nice day.